Welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and finish off where we just left off. Um, I ran out of time. So let's go and analyze this runner. We were just looking at him, and let's go back a second. So here we are in mid stance. Let's count how many frames it takes him to get his foot off the ground. 1, 2, 3. All right, we would have wanted to see his foot coming off the ground by now. We would have wanted to see a very distinct bend. Rather, we're seeing his calf flexing quite a bit of leverage off this foot. That's going to create pressure through the ball of the foot. The calf is going to become fatigued, and the soleus is going to take the load, and then the Achilles is going to become inflamed. The quadricep is flexing right now. When the quadricep becomes fatigued, the IT band will start taking the load. So we want to get that foot off the ground in a vertical manner. Okay, here we are in 4. The foot was off the ground in 4. We're now seeing that distinct bend we would have liked to have seen one frame earlier. I know it's difficult, but try not to get distracted by his Where's Waldo hat. Okay, so now we have to see a more distinct bend. We're seeing a little bit of control of this foot behind. He's turning it kind of awkwardly, turning this foot kind of awkwardly. There's a lot of Where's Waldo cognitive attention going to these feet. All right, Waldo, stop thinking about your feet and let's go ahead and focus on this rear foot coming off the ground a little bit sooner. Remember, your brain does not multitask very well, so let's focus on the rear foot coming off the ground, leave everything relaxed to conserve glycogen and save energy. This foot, oh, it was coming down pretty darn nicely. If it would have come straight down, I'd been pretty happy, but instead, we're going to see kind of a shooting forward motion with this lower leg. Lift the toes a little bit, supinate just a little bit more. That's no good. As I said before in my earlier video, because the brain is not good at multitasking, there's a good chance that his thought of this landing foot is the cause of this rear foot not coming off the ground in time. So we're landing here. Landing's not bad. We have a lot of good attributes of running form here. Let's clean it up and make it better, because if this were me and I was landing like this, I would start getting pain and stress on the outside of my foot. This would cause me some shin pain, maybe some knee distress, and it would overwork my stabilizing muscles in my medial glute and my hip flexors. Okay, so I'm landing here, coming down. Now we're in mid stance again. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames to get that foot off the ground. We can probably make a pretty good prediction that if it's taking that long to get this foot off the ground, we're probably about to see quite a bit of control of this front foot. If he were to come straight down from this position, I'd be pretty happy. Let's look. Next frame, toes up. Next frame, turning the foot to the side. So the foot is landing on the side, out in front. He lifted his toes up first. So there's a lot of control going on here. We would have liked to have seen this foot just relaxing and just coming straight down. So let's focus on relaxing the foot and then bringing this foot up faster. That's a pretty exaggerated bend, a lot of focus here. And we see kind of a swing motion, swing, swing, swing of this airborne leg. We would have liked to see this foot come up straighter, more underneath. It would have prevented some of this long lever action, and this foot would have come down, this front foot would have come down closer underneath. So bring the leg up, and that forces foot down. Again, we have a push off the rear here, a pretty significant push actually. It's a lot of body mass, just lifting up every single running stride. Now we're bending. He's doing a good job of exaggerating the bend, and that is helping overcompensate, so we're not getting a lot of landing out in front motion here, but we're still seeing the control of the front foot. If we were to leave this front leg more relaxed when it was landing, it'd be a lot easier to bring this foot off the ground. It would save energy. All right, let's go forward. And that is it. Let's go to this next runner here. So we saw this runner earlier running outside. This is the runner that's hyperextending his knee. We're seeing the same thing here, really hyperextending. And we saw the other leg bent, landing nice and bent. We're probably about to see the same thing again. Leveraging off this foot, leveraging off this foot, leveraging off this foot. We want to get that foot off the ground, coming up underneath. You're going to feel like your leg is folding, retracting underneath. He's controlling this foot on the landing a little bit, trying to land nicely. He is landing okay, but there's a little bit of supination here. Coming down, this knee is bending when we're landing. That's good. Probably not going to get too many issues here, other than landing on the outside of the foot. Turning this foot to the side, because his brain that we can't see right now, we'll assume he has one. And him focusing on this landing foot is probably one reason why he's taking so long to get this foot off the ground. So now he's landing here, coming down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames to get this foot off the ground. Let's get this foot off the ground in 3 frames. That would look like this. 1, 2, 3. And at this point, we'd see a big bend with this knee and it'd drive this foot down. Rather, he's focusing on this front leg. Let's watch this. This foot's on the ground. He's setting this foot up for landing. He's pushing this foot down. And then we see a bend. And actually, we're not seeing much of a bend here, more of a knee drive forward. Look at this. The knee is driving forward to this right leg. We didn't see a huge bend. A lot of it's coming from the hip flexor. Because there's so much focus on this foot coming down. He's going to hyperextend this knee, driving it to the ground. He's getting a lot of the basic tenets. I know he's wanting to get his foot down to the ground on time, but he needs to focus. He needs to realize that the rear leg is like a trigger. Bending this rear knee is like a trigger to force this foot down. You do not need to actively push this foot down like that so much. We need to be focusing on this leg bending, okay? Bending. So let's try it again. We should be bending sooner, bending this knee. You're all of the time, anyone that's watching this, anybody, should be focusing on bending the knee. When this foot, airborne foot, is underneath, it's time to focus on the next leg. This leg is done. We're like a 2-cylinder engine. This cylinder's fired. It's time to get this next foot underneath the hips. And this is taking a long time. Now we're back underneath the hips. That took too long. Bend the knee sooner, get the foot back underneath the hips. All right, here's our last video. Just going to take a look at our runner here. So tell right off the bat that we're landing out in front just a little bit. And so now we're in our mid stance. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames to get the foot off the ground. This runner has a lot of attributes of good form, but they're just being a little bit too slow. They're focusing on this front foot. If your brain is trying to focus on this front foot, it's going to be a lot harder to get this foot off the ground in time, and it feels like it takes a lot of work. If we can learn to relax this leg, relax meaning that once this foot's underneath, focus on the next leg and let this foot just fall to the ground. Rather, we're seeing a little bit of reach, a little bit of toe up, a teeny bit of heel strike. That can lead to a little bit of shin pain. We don't want that. Coming down, out in front, overloading the shin, overloading the knee and the stabilizing muscles. Now we're underneath. In the process of getting this foot underneath, we're seeing this leg swing, swing, swing. We don't want any swing. We want to see a bend and an unbend. Bend, unbend. Here we are leveraging off the rear foot while we reach forward some. We can clean this up a little bit just by bending these legs faster. Bend the knee sooner, force this foot down sooner. Bend the knee sooner, force this foot down sooner. Now we're seeing a drastic heel strike. That's a pretty big heel strike. We're seeing what this runner's natural inclination may be. We see a little bit of a swing out in front. As a runner, you're going to reach a fork in the road with every stride. Once this foot comes underneath the hips here, you have an option. Either you can swing the lower leg forward, or you can bring the rear leg up by bending the knee. This runner, as we saw with a lot of runners today, is choosing to swing this lower leg forward. Look, there's no knee bend yet. Swing the lower leg forward, not much of a knee bend yet. And now we're going to bend the knee and force this foot down with the heel strike. So this person's brain, or cognitive focus was on foot, foot, foot. Okay, now I'll bend my knee. Let's think about it again. Push you off with this foot, 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 reach out in front. Now I'll bend this knee. Stop thinking about the feet and think about the knee bending. Okay, thank you very much and have a good night.